once a request comes on the entire picture that we saw, this is the part has how the object gets created. The object part of it, this picture shows the object part of it. You load by the class name. You find out whether it is static or not. Before that you try to find out what are the argument types and which argument. You could have written a lot of overloaded methods, right? Which overloaded method that it has to call, that it decides. Then it decides whether it is a static invoke or not. If it is not a static invoke, you have to see whether you have to make it at a session level or an application level. That comes into picture. Then it creates where activator has requested for whichever mode. It assigns the activator, and then the object gets created and it gets invoked. So a small touch at the security level. You have authentication handler. This is how you get a request. It passes through three handlers: authentication handler, authorization handler, and then invocation processing happens. And you can say whether to which IP address you want to give, to which IP address you don't want to give, or probably like what are the resources that you want to be secured, and whatever constraints that you define here. You can say this resource is for this constraint. I mean, you can specify the constraint names. You can say whether it is a grant or reject. All these things you see as a code, but while you are running it, when you can do all these things on the console on the fly. Probably. So this is the security tab, and here there's a role, administrator. I can add a role here. I can add a role, and I can say grant or deny, and I can directly do it. Internally, it is going to write code inside it. It's internally going to configure the XML for you at the back. So, final touch. You can do complex types also. .NET objects are exposed, and you can secure it with your WebORB security. You can also you can even call your web services through it. What happens is you create an object, you do a web services call, and the web services call will be done to you by the WebORB. You say to the WebORB that I'm going to do a web services call. So the communication between your client and your WebORB is going to be in binary. So it's going to be much faster than your HTTP request. So there you can even save time there. You have performance analyzers. It is one-click deployment. You have a deployment tab there in your console, and arguments. Your argument objects. I mean, it is a must that for the WebORB to construct an object out of your class, you are requested. I mean, it is a must to have your parameterless constructor. In case if you are not able to have a parameterless constructor, or you want to pass an interface type at the runtime, then this argument factories will come into picture. You need to say what is the factory, for which entry you want to use the factory, and you will have to specify code there. So these are the deployment techniques. You have Visual Studio templates, and when you create your application using .NET, and you have a couple of things like these templates it comes with these templates, and once you come with this template, you start using the template, you have all these configs in place. So you can directly start using it. You don't have to take the pains of copying it, making your virtual directory WebORB based, or you don't have the pain of copying it to a already WebORB enabled directory. These are the options. You can use a template, or you can copy the DLLs to the virtual directory, or you can, and this is the handler. You see here at the configuration, in the config file, you will say what is the handler. For star WebORB.aspx, follow it to the WebORB HTTP handler. You need to grant permissions for read, write, create logs if you want. Even this is configured. This you can configure it at the run. I mean, there are a lot of for taking into account as how it works, they do a lot of extra logging generation. You have options. The config file has a lot of options to specify where you can say, well, you can even compress your request that you are sending. If your size of the request is greater than say X amount, you can even specify options above what amount you want to compress your files. So, yeah, I thought probably I'll not be able to show you the WebORB thing, so that I have just put a figure of it. This is for the database level. It's like you add your database, whichever database you want. It will give you all the tables here. Out of that you select and you can generate classes for your client side and your server side over here. So you immediately take your classes. It gives you code for all your basic create, update, delete, all that comes immediately with you. They also have a feature called calculating your return of investment. So once you generate some code out of it, they'll ask you, you have an option there, it's an interesting option. You can click on it and you can say that I have written code, I can charge my customer that much. It's like, if you do it manually, how much amount of time will you be taking? So it saves a lot of money, it improves productivity, it decreases time to market, implements lock-in, eliminates lock-in. You have flexible deployment options, secures your data sources, minimizes your risk, and eliminates redundant technology. A few more. The community edition is free. The difference, I think I also have a slide to show you what is the difference between community and enterprise edition. Generates a lot of code for you. You can do performance monitoring. You can do even testing of complex return types. And this is the difference between your community and the enterprise edition. You will need to go to the enterprise edition only when you are going to use a number of systems to set up your. For the clustering part alone, you need to go in for the enterprise edition. Pretty much the rest all will be you will be fine with the community edition.